All right, so it's actually the next day, and I finally got a new Connect, and I just kind of want to take you guys along, show you kind of start to finish, and little tips and tricks, show you what I do. So, the customer, it's a 5-room with a Super Joey. So when it's a Super Joey, because it's a hopper with sling and a Super Joey, and a hopper with sling only has 3 tuners, so you can watch live TV or record on 1 tuner. So if she has 5 TVs, which is what she's getting, she can't watch them all at once. So you have to add a Super Joey to add 2 tuners. The thing with Super Joeys is you have to have a dedicated 3 gigahertz rated RG6 line. So what that means is I have to put a hopper and a Super Joey hardwired in one room, and they both have to be on 3 gigahertz approved cable. So I already went up in the attic, and I toned out all my lines, which is those little toner things that I was showing you. And it looks like at one point in time, customer did have DirecTV, judging by this equipment. You can see. And somebody just left the line here, so either they got a new roof or they had it taken out. Who knows? So, it looks like at one point in time they had one on here too, which is the opposite building. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is, because we have 2 satellites we can connect to. We have Western Arc, which is about right in this area. We have 3 satellites that it connects to. But since that building's in the way, I'm going to do Eastern Arc, where we have 2 satellites, and they're over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and build a Eastern Arc satellite. It's a little bit different. You can tell by the differences is the Western Arc has 3 eyes on the LMB, and the Eastern Arc, I don't have any slim lines, but the Eastern Arc only has 2 eyes because it connects to 2 satellites, 72 and 61.5. So I'm going to set on my backplate, I'm going to set my skew to 55. So you can see these little numbers here. You line it up with this mark, so I'm going to set it to 55. I'm going to set my elevation to 42, put the reflector on it. I'm probably going to cut all that cable that's actually on the house and run all new cable. So I'm going to cut a line of cable and just have it all one. You got to think about the next technician, and when they come, if something happened to the dish and they need to point it, are you going to put a ground block, or what are you going to do? But since it's so close to the attic entrance, I'm just going to run a straight line. So I'm going to probably take about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 feet of cable, and I'll come back. All right, so because it's a hopper with sling and a Super Joey, I'm going to have to run 2 lines off the dish, because both receivers are going to be accessing the LMB for tuners. So I'm going to plug one into port 1 and one into port 2. You can always tell on the LMB because this is port 1, port 2. All right, now I'm going to get my mounting hardware ready. I like to have my big socket ready to go. I like to loosen these bolts so I can move the mast around like this, so I have access to these 6 holes. No. 1 here, 2 there, 2 there, and then 1 big one here, and then this is where the messenger wire goes. I like to use 2-inch lags. We have these 3-inch ones that we can use. You can see the difference there, but I don't know. I feel like the 2-inch lags do just as good. And then the pitch patch. Alright, so I got my ladder up there. I like to use these fingerless gloves just on one hand, because when I go up there, I actually bang the roof to see where the stud is. So I like to hit the stud. On the dish, I like to terminate just one end, usually because I'm going to cut it to length. Looking at this DirecTV install, it looks like he did run dual messenger. You can kind of see right there from the attic, so that's awesome because I have to have 2 lines going into the attic. So I'm going to go ahead, mount the ground block right there, cut all those, seal that back up, and put the ground block right there, put the dish up here, and have it all tie in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mount it. I'm gonna show you how I find a stud. I don't know if the microphone on this phone will pick it up, but you can audibly tell the difference. So it's about right there. All right, it is mounted. It is super secure. I'm gonna go ahead and level it, and then I will tighten up 2 bolts on either side. All right, so I went ahead and got the dish seated. I haven't pressed in these 2 bolts, so I can still turn it left and right. Now I'm going to go ahead. I plugged in dish into my meter. It looks like we're on satellite 129, so I'm going to switch that. I'm going to go to system, go down, sees we're on Western Arc, so I'm going to change that. We're going to go to Eastern Arc, Dish Pro Hybrid. It's a 1002 dish. Select that. Since we have no additional ones, that's what that next screen is the additional satellites. It's good for internationals, because internationals do Western Arc, except one more. It has 118 for Western Arc, so, or sorry, 129 that you have to add on there. So I'll go ahead and press done. Then I'm gonna go ahead and turn the LNB on. Oh my gosh, that was perfect. Man, when you work for Dish for this long, I swear, like that's perfect. So you can always check it by going to menu, limit scan, and it'll show you your transponders. It'll show you the dBs, and then it'll show you if it's good or fail. So some of these that have the question mark is going to say fail. That's just because it couldn't access the LNB. So let's go ahead and so we're on LNB 1. Good. So that's all good. Now we're going to go to satellite 61. All right, so that's all perfect. Wow, 70 on an Eastern Arc. That's crazy good. Eastern Arc usually, if you get about 50, 55, that's definitely passing. So I got my dish here. I'm gonna go ahead and, well, whoops, I don't have anything attached to that. I'm gonna go ahead and put my socket on, and then I'm going to impact this bolt, and then I'll put a wrench on that because it's going to spin from the other side, and tighten that one. All right, so now as you can see, I tightened up these bolts. That's not even circular anymore. That's how I like it, nice and tight, not going anywhere. Now I'm going to add a service loop and then attach all of those wires down at the ground block and just kind of clean everything else up so it looks nice and the customer feels comfortable with it all. I also forgot to mention that once you do all your service loops and stuff like that, you have to ground it right here at this screw. So you undo this screw a little bit, and then you'll wrap this around that screw, and that will ground the satellite. All right, so I'm just now finishing up. You can see this is how the satellite is going to sit on the house. I've got it run down, and I added a ground block. This dual messenger wire is super hard to work with, so I ran it actually on this wall, and then I grounded, this is from the satellite, that is to the meter box, and then I couldn't add a service loop right here because this cable going in the attic is only so long. But since it did have open connectors when I arrived, I went ahead and I usually cut it back about 6 to 10 inches and then put new connectors on it. You can kind of see when you have cable that's been sitting out, it'll actually kind of rot on the inside. So you want to make sure to cut it back to where when you cut it, it's more of a kind of clean kind of wire like that. This is all the stuff that I removed. So all said and done, I think this looks pretty good. Alright, so now I'm back here at the van. I got a chance to take my tool belt off. I like to create a big little workspace. And what this is I'm actually just scanning in equipment. So we'll go to our phone, and you can see that we can just click scan, and then we'll take something like a Joey, and it'll scan in, and then we just add it to the equipment list. Alright, up here in the attic, you want to make sure not to step there. So it looks like all of our wires are here. It looks like this is my dual messenger cable. You can always tell by getting a toner, and when you tone out the line, it'll always show green on the toners. So I'm going to take my toner, connect my coaxes to these, and see which one goes to which. Alright, so I got it here. Here's my hub. So remember how I was telling you those ribs? I can tell this is 1, and it goes into ODU 1, and then this is 2, and it goes into ODU 2. So ODU 1, you can see this little planogram thing here. It goes into my hopper, and then this will go into my Super Joey. So I know this toned out red for hopper, and then this is brown's where I'm putting the Super Joey. And then I also put a splitter, which comes off the one client line and goes into my splitter, and then I taped off the other two, or terminated them. Alright, so this is my haul. I got the hopper, I got 2 Joeys, all the remotes, a Super Joey, and I have to change one of the wired Joeys into a wireless because there's no coax in that room. And in the attic, as you saw, it's all floored. And it's not only floored, but it's actually screwed in. So making it pretty much near impossible without unscrewing it and dropping a cable and then rescrewing it back. So yeah, we're just going to do a wireless receiver. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get all this unpackaged and get it set up. I also just want to mention, because I've been in the customer's house and I put toners on there, the customer just has wall plates. So it's just sitting like up against the wall like this. And so I'm going to have to run coax. So I had to build these cables to connect the actual receivers themselves. Usually, like if you're switching, like if you go to a customer's house and they have like Spectrum or AT&T or something like that, there's usually already coax running, so you don't have to build these additional cables. But this customer has never had cable before, so I had to build these cables to connect to the receivers. You also probably like if it's like Spectrum or something like that, they don't use the 3 gigahertz cable for DBS satellite receivers. We have to use the 3 gigahertz cable like I was talking about earlier. And you want to make sure it's RG6 and not RG59. RG6, the stinger is super thick and you can't really move it with your hand. RG59 just kind of wobbles in your hand. So I'm gonna go hook these up and start downloading software. If you're a dish tech and you're watching this, you know this is the most awful part of the entire install. I got that satellite up, connected everything in the attic, grounded everything. That took me about an hour, and it's been about an hour and 20 minutes. Setting up these receivers and downloading software, the downloading software part takes me about 45 minutes alone. Setting up the receivers takes about another 50 minutes to an hour. So it's actually going to take me longer to install all this than it did connect that satellite. And this is just plugging stuff in. So yeah, I'm going to go have fun with that. Alright, so I'm here at the Super Joey, and I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to make sure the TV is at the max resolution, make sure to adjust the screen, and then I'm also going to pair the remote. So you can see it's an Element TV. Come over here, Element, And I'm gonna make sure the volume and the power works. There you go. Do that on all of them. Alright, so I'm back at the van. I'm just grabbing a few things for the customer, like this channel guide and you know, what's in it for you. It just kind of shows you like how to use the hopper and you know, the remote and stuff like that. I'm gonna go over customer education with the customer, but they like to have this because, like a lot of people, when I explain it, they forget the second I walk out. So I like to come back here and just chill out for a bit, smoke a cigarette, and put in my account notes as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and then go back inside and do some customer education.